for Miss Sandy. So she was born in St. Louis. She graduated with a BA in art education degree from Southeast Missouri University. She has a master's of art and teaching. Taught high school art education for 25 years. And for Melville School District. My daughter just got a job there.
Wonderful, I love that district. Love it.
I'll tell her.
Are you still teaching there?
No, I retired.
So she mainly is working as an oil painter since retirement in 2008, working in portraiture, still life, landscape, abstracts with an emphasis on plein air, and also works in acrylic, collage, mixed media, and she is so prolific. She has been doing daily and almost daily paintings for a long time. Sorry. Did anybody get a chance to look at her website? Because I did, and I mean, talk about a woman of many talents. There was a little bit of everything. So, anyway, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, make sure you do. And you're also going to be giving a talk at Graphica Gallery in Webster.
Well, that's on sketch. On sketchbooks. I'm doing it with another friend of mine. Yeah, we're going to talk about sketchbooks and the value of them. On the third Thursday is Graphica's Art Talk. If you've never been there, and it's over in Webster on Big Bend, Webster Groves. But it's really fun because they always have artful conversation on the third Thursday of every month, and then it's a gallery, of course, too. But we're going to do the talk this March, the month.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and anybody can come.
Anybody's invited. Oh, absolutely.
So, if you guys want to hear more?
Yeah.
So with that, we're just going to turn it over to you,
Okay.
and because they want to listen to you more than me.
I don't know if they do or not, but it's hard for me to narrow things down. You know, as you can see, I do a lot of different things because everything holds my interest. I'm just so excited about creating, and I know everybody in this room is, and that's what's so. I appreciate that about all of you, and thank you all for coming to hear me. But I started out as a teacher, and when I retired from teaching, I did 100 portraits of my students, 12 by 12. I taught drawing all for years and years, and never taught painting. So I wanted to learn oil painting. I thought, I should know how to oil paint, and I really don't. So I started doing portraits of my students, and I would just take pictures of them, and I did 12 by 12 on a gallery wrap canvas, and I wanted to do 100 of them. And I was starting to get a likeness, and it was really spooky because I'd never gotten a likeness before, and I thought, this is really exciting. I did do a grid. I gridded it, and I did it in the Terra Verde green. And then there was a process I went through that would dry for like 3 days, and then I'd start adding the color. And it was very fun. It was exciting, and when I got a likeness, it was very thrilling. So that was kind of my, swan song to leave teaching. And then I took a workshop with Carol Marine, if you know who that is, in Door County. That was really exciting and fun. She's a daily painter. And I sort of developed some of my style with how I start and beginning and just my practice. Because she says paint daily or paint often and small, and that's how you get good. You do it over and over and over again. And I think that's true, really. If you do it again and again and again, you get better at it. But I like to be diverse too, and so I do watercolor sometimes. I draw a lot. I have a group that we go and draw every week. I collage, and I do everything from still life to a lot of plein air. And that's where I met Susan. No, it's not where I met Susan. I met her at Green Door. But that's where I met Mike, plein air painting with Mo Papa. And that's a great thing. We go to Forest Park. We go to all places around the city and whatever. And other times I'm doing other things. And I do a lot of collage work. I used to teach a class called Applied Design, which was kind of whatever I wanted it to be. And so we would do altered books. We would do ATCs, if you know what that is, artist trading cards. The little small 2.5 by 3.5 cards. We did those.
You dropped something.
Oh, did I? Well, yeah, it's just a scrap, I guess. But if you want to come up and take a look at some of the things, just take an old book and start playing, start painting the pages and see where it takes you. Look it up online. You know, go online and look up altered books. Look up collage work. And I brought a few things that are like in progress, just to show you what my process looks like. I use the 300-pound watercolor paper oftentimes in working in collage, and then acrylic paints using, you know, to collage the gloss gel, which combines with any acrylic medium, of course. And so I have tons of this stuff, but I just grabbed a few things to just show you how to get started, how to start. This is a thinner thing. This is the heavier paper. Here's a box that I just found that I love. My students made these, so these are probably 15, 20 years old. We used to print with them. You just take an eraser and cut with an X-Acto knife and make yourself a design. And then you can stamp, and then stamp, and then use that in your collage. Make your own collage papers. It's a lot more fun than buying them or buying, you know, a bunch of things. So just kind of play and add paint and color and black and white, run it on the copier, and you'll get a nice thin sheet that works well with collage. It's not too heavy. So I use maps, and I use rice paper. And I keep working and working and turning and adding and layering until I say, oh, I like that. And that's when I stop. You know, and then you say, should I sign it here or here? Or here, you know. But I mean, and that sounds silly, but it's really pretty much the case. You're inspired to do it because you love to do it, because it's exciting to you. You get excited. I get excited to do it. I can't wait to get down there and start throwing paint around. But it happens right in front of you, and you kind of have to capture it when it happens. You never know when it's going to occur. You kind of know. You're nodding like you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing that, but and here's some. Then oftentimes I just take them when I like it. You know, when I see something that looks interesting, and I like the combination of busy and calm, and I like the color combination is not too chaotic, and there seems to be a focal point that I like, the little texture maybe. Depends on what you're looking for. And then sometimes I do the same thing, but I have something in mind, like maybe I'll do, you know, I love to do flowers. I do flowers all the time, all the time. And, you know, just playing with them. And so you've got
those the same flowers?
No, they're just made up.
Oh,
I wasn't looking at anything when I did these.
They are here.
Now these I was actually painting ranunculus, which is my favorite flower. And here's what is it? African violet, I think. And here's what is that? Is that a hyacinth? Is that a hyacinth out of my yard, I think? I did a whole series on shoes. Oh gosh, I used to go to Goodwill and buy the highest, funkiest heels I could find for cheap, and then I would paint them. My mom was a shoe designer, so I kind of have this affinity to shoes. And so, and my students used to do a lot of shoes. There's something about the personality of a pair of shoes. To draw it, to paint it, to design it. Whatever speaks to you, you know. Certain things you're gonna be gravitating to. Here's one of the flowers. And someone asked me if it was all oil. Most of what I do is oil these days. Well, I do a lot of different, I've been doing a lot of acrylics too, but a lot of these small ones are oils. They're on panels, most of them, rather than canvas, because it's just easier to work with and transport it and stuff. And I use the gesso boards by Ampersand, if you're familiar with that. They're really nice. They don't have any texture. They don't have the weave. They don't have but I like that. I like the smooth. So most of those are, that's what that is. And generally, what I'm gonna do for you in just a second is I usually start, and this is from the Shelby Keefe workshop. If you know who Shelby Keefe is, does anybody know her? Anyway, yeah, she's pretty good. Anyway, I went and took one from her in Ohio. I took a workshop. She starts when she looks at her green and blue and, yellowish landscape. She starts with the complement, and she puts it down in acrylic, and it dries very quickly. Okay, so I've started acrylics. I've started oil paintings over an acrylic that's almost all orange and red, say. And then when you add your green to it and you cover most of it up, you have little peaks of things peeking through that are either, that are warm colors. And that's really effective generally. If you've ever tried it, if you've never tried it, try it. Try it next time you do a landscape. Start with a base color or a ground of a warm. That'll complement that green when you put it on top. Anyway, and I got some other things if you want to come up here and look later, but different series. I did a series on cakes and pies and things like that one time. Okay, cupcakes. This is a book I did several years ago where I thought I was going to lose my computer, was going to crash, and I thought, uh-oh, I'm going to lose all of the pictures. So I took 75 or so and put them in a book so I could keep them, so I wouldn't lose them. So they're there. This is an altered book. Here's a lot of sketchbooks. They're all different. This one has like a viewfinder that you can take with you as you're out in the plein air. This is one I started back in 1988 out in California. So when you put something down in a sketchbook and you devote the time to looking and studying it and putting it down, it stays with you. And it's much more meaningful than taking a picture on your phone of something and then you never look at it again. But this one, when I look at this, I remember where I was. My kids played, ball and stuff, and I would sit there and watch them, and I would look at these gorgeous trees and draw them and stuff. So it brings back the memories for me. And plein air is like that too. If you don't do plein air, it's kind of a hassle because you got to drag all your stuff. And the plein air events we do, Susan and I have done some plein air events together, and we do Augusta, Steelville, there's Fairview, and I've done Bluff Strokes, and up in Dubuque. Those are all great events for being around people that will be supportive and that you learn from, they learn from you, you learn from them, and we have a great community where we are of artists that love to paint together. So I guess I better get going. I did these in the car. That's kind of fun to do too. Just to do a little quick, because you're moving so fast. But to look at compositions as you're going down the highway, and just kind of capturing them really fast. That maybe you can look at later. Because to me, the most effective thing generally about an effective painting, and you probably see this in your own work, is large, dynamic shapes of value. You'll see it across the room. It's like, whoa, what is that? And you want to go over and look at it. It's not the detail that draws you in. It's not so much the color. It's the value in the shapes that are very powerful. And so that's what you see when you're going down the highway. So I took some little notes that said, I ran across this as I was looking through my sketchbook, so I just tore it out to talk to you about it. It says, open your eyes, open your heart, experience fully the sights and sounds, and your awareness as an artist is a little bit more than everyone else's, probably, just to begin with. You're aware. make a difference, explore, and I do explore. And I think it's exciting because you never have to get bored because you're always trying a new thing. Survive, give, share, let go, do the unexpected. Yeah, if you think I've always done, oh, well, don't do it that way then. Do something different. I just saw a quote by Maria Abramovic. Do you know her? Anybody know her? Nobody knows her? Yeah, she's a performance artist. I don't know if she's still alive or not, but she took art and she said that her professor told them, if you get so good that you know you can do it each time, put the pencil in your other hand. I thought, wow, ooh, shake it loose. And don't be afraid to do that because that gets in the realm of exciting then. When you really, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know what's gonna happen. Because when you always know what's gonna happen, it's sort of, okay, it's okay. You know, you wanna challenge yourself to not maybe know what's gonna happen and push yourself. Surprise yourself, that was the next one. Do the unexpected, surprise yourself. Don't be limited. Decide for yourself. Keep searching, and I think that's the key to life, is to keep learning. Discover your strength. What is your strength? Push yourself and value the commonplace. Okay, something to remember. Okay.
Do you want to do those?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about these. I'll try to do it fast. These are some that I finally figured out how to put them on a little disc, and I was so proud of myself because I put them on the whole thing. I was excited. And so I brought some of them to show you. These were from, we're going to be going into the classrooms from Heartland, and we're going to be talking to the students, and they can look at our work and see who they want to invite into to the school. These are some of ones I started with photos. On that top one I did, the second one down, that one I actually did standing in the street or on the sidewalk. People don't like that though. I found that people, they want to call the police and stuff. They don't, they don't like that sometimes. But I had fun with that because it was like sunset almost, and I was trying to put the yellows and the purples in there to show the warmth of the sun on there. That one, Susan did this picture. She knows this picture. She knows this one. She was painting, do you remember where? Botanical Garden. Yes, Botanical Garden. And she had to leave for some reason. And you showed me your work, and I said, oh, I'm gonna go over there and paint. Bye. So I set up, because I really liked that little walkway. So I did this one.
I do that all the time with Sean.
I know.
You know, because he always has the best spot and the
I know.
best painting, and I'm like,
You go.
he's done. And
He's gone. I know. There were you. This one is from Forest Park. That's a terrible picture of it because it's got a glare on it. But that was plein air, and that was one of the waterways at Forest Park. Oh, that was a commission. That was a commission of this dog, and I didn't want to do that picture. I found another one I liked, and the woman said, but my husband really likes this picture. That's his dog. I said, okay, I'll do it. So anyway, I was very pleased with the way it turned. I like the way it turned out. That was one of my students, Latoria. That's one of my 100 the portraits. Those were done in oil. She's the only one that I really did a profile like that,
Oh,
though.
that's for helping on the square.
Did you give them back to the kids
What?
that you?
Yes.
Did you?
Uh-huh, I did.
To the family?
Uh-huh. This is it's lilacs that were my father-in-law's bush that he gave us that we have now. And it was significant from that standpoint because he grew those. That's one of my looser acrylic ones. It's maybe about like that. It was it was not from life. That was just made up. And so was that one.
Pass it
That one was from a workshop with Farley Lewis. He had some photos that he let us look at, and we could work from one of those, and that's the painting that I did from Farley's workshop. That's a photo that I took at Tower Grove. If you ever go to Tower Grove Farmers Market, there's a neat big fountain there where the kids play. And I saw this little girl, I took her picture. And you kind of have to take it on the slide because somebody thinks you're gonna, hurt their kid or, But yeah, that's just a non-objective. That's just an abstract, non-objective. And I went with sort of a complementary thing with the green and the pink. Oh, that is Lutrice. She was another one of my students. That's one of the 12 by 12 portraits. And then I brought that shoe. I still have that one. It's somewhere here. Yeah, I did a shoe series. That one was done from life at Gwendolyn Moore's house. We painted at her house one day. That's my hairdresser's dog. The dog had to be given up because they were getting an apartment, so I did a portrait of the dog. That was one that we did. That was with Mo Papa in not Tower Grove Park, but Lafayette Square. But I think it was by the brewery, whatever. What is that street? Lemp Avenue. Lemp Avenue. Mm-hmm. That one is where we always paint at Grand and Faulkner at the park. There was this stuff on and that one was from Louisiana, Missouri, a plein air one from the event there at the Golden Hills or whatever, plein air event. That's an abstract that just sold at the Artists Guild show. And that's another abstract that I did. And that one sold too.
And that is all.
That's it. Okay. All right. Well, I was gonna start and try to do a little bit of always put my brush. I used always use this to mix your paints, which I'm bad about that. I don't always do it, but I try to remember. I'm trying to get better at it. How many of you do you mix your oils with that? I try, but oftentimes it's this I'm doing, and I shouldn't do that. And I'm also learning more, and all of you that paint in oils, I'm trying to use the brush in a better way and I want to see brush strokes, because my tendency was always to blend. And I didn't even know I was doing that. I didn't know that was a bad thing until I see the power and the excitement that you can get with just, a couple brush strokes, that has a lot of power. So anyway, these are rather small. You're better off with bigger ones, but I use usually longs and some filberts. I'm just starting to get into more filberts. I used to always use longs or brights, but I'm getting into more filberts, and I think they're kind of fun too. And a liner occasionally. So, and I've got acrylic on here, and as I said, I usually start with, I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I ended up with a red background, so I could have put something cool in the back, but I didn't. So I'm going to start, I think he's got it where you can see what I'm doing. So what I generally do is I start with a little bit of alizarin crimson and some ultramarine, just to do a wash, kind of a thin, just to kind of block things in. And I've got I don't know how many of you use this. How many of you use a viewfinder like that? Do all of you? Yes. And I have it marked in thirds. I just marked it with a Sharpie or something. And generally, when I'm starting, I close one eye and I try to figure out where it's going to fit on the canvas. And more or less, find the center of each of the sides, and then maybe mark it into fourths, this is thirds, which is not gonna work, but that's oh well. Whatever, sometimes it's thirds and sometimes it's fourths. So, this one is on fourths, so you're right. Sometimes I do have it in thirds, sometimes I've got it in fourths. And then I close one eye and see where the best composition is gonna be. That's the hardest part for me, is just to come up with the composition. That's kind of boring, but anyway. I probably should have had another little thing right in here. It would have been more interesting. But we'll just go with it. And my teapot starts right about here, and it goes to about there. The handle is about to here, and extends the spout to maybe there. It's pretty much an oval. I kind of mark where that little cup is too. The saucer's there. Yeah, ellipses are kind of challenging, but the pot is kind of an elliptical. I would start maybe with a basic ellipse. And then add my handle, and my handle goes to there. It's under. Like that. And then this goes up. Here. You want to start with a real heavy or a real direct light. If you're doing still life, it'll give you a good contrast of values. Then I would go probably define the shadow area. Which is going to make sense then when you put your highlight in, you'll see where the shadow should be. And it's good if it runs off the page. You don't have to worry about it going off the page, because that kind of gives you an interesting negative space there. Shadow of the cup, and there's a little shadow of the handle there, the T, and there's a little, the tea bag, I don't have a very good angle of it, but maybe with the little string it'll read right, just so it reads like a tea bag. Doesn't have to be exact. white things are fun because, you know, white pieces of pottery, because of the shadows and everything's a little more direct on it. Using your cools for your shadows. There's a shadow up on that little knob too thing. Now I'd probably go ahead and, before it gets too far along, I would probably take these lines out, these little marks. Once I get it in position where I want it, I'll take those marks out. Now I would start with the darks and block in my darker areas, and actually one of the darks is the shadowing. I'll take my red, darken it with a little bit of blue, and these over here, I don't know if you can see this, here's my titanium white. I've got 2 yellows. That's the cad lemon, cad yellow medium. This is alizarin crimson and ultramarine. And generally I have a warm and cool red and a warm and cool blue. But I didn't bring my warm red, which would be my cad red medium. And then the other blue is either indigo or Prussian. But these two over here are kind of extra things. That's transparent red oxide and transparent yellow oxide. And this is a solvent-free medium that mixes. And then I probably just start, I don't know, I kind of like that dark. Put your darks in first. That's the handle there. And then the little green cup is throwing a shadow here. The saucer is throwing a shadow right in there. There's also kind of a funny little shadow there. Do you have any questions or anything? Just throw something out if you yeah.
Thin? The paint, is it thin with anything?
I'm thinning it with a little Gamsol right now. And then when I do that blocking in, because that's kind of like watery, waters it down. And then I either put a medium in as I go along, and then at the end, it's just like solid paint, much thicker. So you go from thin to thick. And your highlight is like a blob of paint just right out of the tube.
What medium do you typically use?
It's a Gamblin product, but I also use the one that comes, it's a solvent-free, I think Gamblin makes it. You know which one I'm talking about, that comes in a tube.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a blue tube.
Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about? Yeah. I squeezed out a little bit of that right here. Now my green, I think I'm probably gonna use the cad medium with a little bit of ultramarine, see what kind of green I can get. Kind of yellowy. A little more blue. Now if it's too green and it's too much green, I'll throw a little bit of red in it to kind of tone it down. If it's too bright, to bring that intensity down, I put a little bit of red, the opposite. my darker, I'm gonna do the darker part first, the shadow. That might be exaggerating it a little bit, but it might be too dark, but that's all right.
Yeah.
No, it's not dark enough. I thought it'd be darker than that. When you put it up here, it just doesn't look that dark. There's actually several different colors of green there. The darkest is right here on the saucer where it's dark shadow. The medium would be the sides of the cup. And inside here, that's pretty darn dark too. Not quite as dark as that, but like that. Still kind of dark. That would be this part here. And this also. And this is it's got some dark on the handle underneath. It's pretty dark. It's almost as dark as the shadow. And the tea in there, I'm gonna try to mix up a, maybe it's kind of like the, yellow, the transparent yellow oxide with a little bit of the transparent red oxide in it. And a little bit of the green because you can see through it. Oh, there you go, that's it, right there. Kind of it, the right color. Just take something thin here and make a kind of a funky little line there for that string. Later on, that's going to be the string. Okay, now the lightest part of the green is going to be right around the top, and then where the light's hitting is going to be the top of the cup and the top of the saucer. So I'm going to make that a lot lighter. So I'll take my same green, add a bit of titanium to it. And sometimes you can't really tell until you put it on there if it's going to be the right value. put it on there, then you can see, okay, now that looks okay. And the rest of the saucer is getting a lot of light on it too. Now, you get a feel for the light, and that's why you want a really strong light on there, because that makes your job a lot easier. When you can distinguish your lights and darks right away. They're very obvious. And then I do have that string coming down. I am gonna try to record that. Teabag string. I can mess with that later. And the tea bag, I'm gonna try to finish that. The tea could be a little darker. Add a little blue to it. I see a highlight here, right there, and I see a highlight right there. And I see a highlight right here. I don't know if you can see.
Highlights pure white?
I'm sorry?
Are the highlights pure white?
Yeah, I just put pure white on there. I kind of like the fact that that tea thing is yellow, because it gives a little color to it. So I'm gonna put that little yellow square, whatever it is. And the teapot, ooh, I just saw something on the teapot. Very interesting. I'm gonna mix up for a purpley blue. I'm always trying to hold too many brushes. Mix up a little bit of shadow, a kind of a purpley blue. The shadow on the little teapot. So all my shading on that, not shadows, but the shading is kind of a purpley blue. I'm exaggerating it a little bit, because it's not as purple as that, but I like that, so. That's kind of right in here. I'm gonna have to make it more opaque because it's not gonna cover my orange. It's not gonna cover the orange board, so I gotta get it a little bit more opaque. Or it won't cover up, it'll look, the orange is gonna show through, I'm afraid. I think that'll work. Starts right about there, comes over, that. Shadow there. I see a little reflected light that I'll have to come back to that though. There's some reflected light coming, bouncing from here up underneath there. I'm seeing a little light and a little polka dot under there. It's coming back up underneath. The handle is darker over here. Oh, and yeah, it's very dark right here. Tiny bit there, tiny bit there. And this comes, there's a little bit under there, it's catching shadow too. All right, now I'm gonna go a little bit lighter. Always go from dark to light when you're doing oil. In watercolor, of course, you're gonna go the other way. You're gonna go start with your light and go dark. But with oil, start with your darkest dark and then go a little bit lighter, finish up with your lightest light. And sometimes, like I said, you gotta try it and see what it, when you put it on there and you compare them, you're gonna get a better idea of how light it is or how light you want it. my light part now of the, I don't wanna make it totally white though, because then my highlight's not gonna show up. So I wanna keep it a little, cause I can definitely see the highlight on there. So if I can make this a little bit, have a little bit of blue in it. So it'll contrast with the highlight that I'm gonna put on.
Do you totally cover your outline, or do you leave some of?
Yeah, it just kinda incorporates after a little bit, you know, it just kinda works. But sometimes I look at a painting and I'll see sort of the dark around it, and I like that. If you ever look at Lautrec's things, they have red. He outlined in red. Yeah. And if it's dark, sometimes that works. It just depends on what look you're going for. Some people use more of a brown to block in. Or they'll use an ochre or something like that. Instead of like where I'm using the alizarin and the mixture of alizarin, they'll use like a yellow ochre. Or they'll use the yellow ochre maybe for the ground sometimes too. I see some areas look very light to me, very, very light, like a highlight almost. This is one of them right here. There's a lot of contrast. That's very light. There's a highlight there. Ooh, it shows up too, because I put a little bit of the blue in there. So there's my highlight right there. And there's also one there. They have to make sense. They have to be in the right spot, where it would make sense that the light would hit it. There's one here too.
What kind of light is that, Nick?
I'm sorry?
What kind of light is that? Is that a
Oh,
special- anything?
this one?
Uh-huh.
I think it's, what do you call a, what's that little intense bulb?
LED.
Yeah, an LED. I bought it from a guy that had them on Marketplace. I bought 2 of them, so. Yeah, they're handy.
Mhm.
Is it a clip-on?
Is there a clip-on?
Is it a clip-on light?
It has this little thing here.
No, I mean, it clips. to
No,
the
no,
table.
it's got a stand.
Oh.
No. And it's a good idea just to get back and look at it a little bit.
You got about 10 minutes, so get the big
Okay.
brushes out.
Big brushes, here come the big brushes. The big guns. Okay, I do have some big brushes somewhere. Well, for right now, this is my big brush. So what I'm gonna do, and my red's gonna be a little bit too purpley, but that's okay, because that's the only red I've got. So that's what we're doing. That's what we gotta do. So, should be lighter. I might even throw a little white in it to lighten it. Just a wee bit. I'm changing it a little bit so I can get a contrast there with the shadow. I do need big brushes, Susan. This is not, that's not a very big brush.
Would you mind if we passed around some of your things you have here? Do you mind if we?
No, go ahead. That's fine.
We might run out of time to look at it.
I was doing, I don't know if anybody else did the January Strata Easel Challenge. Did anybody do that?
I watched it though.
You watched it? And I would generally just go down and have it set up and paint it early in the day. But sometimes, you know, life gets in the way of your painting, so you have to maybe wait till later. And one night, I had these tired little flowers. I kept using them and painting them over and over and over. And I still had them left, and it was like late. Not, for me it's late if it's 9 o'clock, but, and I went in and I just went whip, 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 get it done, get it done. And I was one of my most successful ones, I think. I really, when you don't think so much about it, your head gets in the way sometimes and ruins a painting. So sometimes just have fun with it and do it, and don't struggle over it so much and, you know, worry with it. Because then you end up overworking it and overthinking it, and that's not what you want to do, maybe. A lot of red here.
Or do you put your background in real thin and then thicken it up with the shadows and highlights?
I'm sorry?
Do you put your background in with thinner color and then put on shadows that are thicker?
Yeah, the shadows were, actually, I'm trying to do it fast now, so I'm adding a little bit of Gamsol to the alizarin and some white. But I am kind of doing it thinner just to get it covered right now.
Well, then when you put a heavier color on and you got that thin on, doesn't that wash it or?
It does, but you don't want to mush it. You don't want to just keep working. Just put it down and then leave it. That's the key, and that's the hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
It is so hard. I don't know why, but it's very hard to do that.
It's just what we need to look at right now. Oh, they're all croissants. I know, that's kind of neat. Just one of this.
The other thing that the orange in the background does, I just thought of this, but I wanted to point it out to you. It unifies the whole painting. Because everything has orange to start with.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be orange, but whatever that background is, whatever that ground is, it tends to unify everything because it's everywhere.
The ground grounds it.
The ground grounds it. I like that. I'm going to remember that.
The ground grounds it.
I'm going to borrow that next time I describe that.
Yeah, we go past these ones too. Oh, okay. I guess. You know, I saw your background talking about the new stroke, what did you call that? Algebra. I did a bunch like that already too. Oh, it's fun, but I didn't do it in a book, I did mine in a magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard that. Yeah. Yeah, that's, you just take a book like this, and you open it up, and you whatever one pictures, mine I didn't drawing, I just drew different pictures on a page. And then, yeah, only kind of the skyline.
We take small ones, you take big ones. See these already?
When you do your second, say you let them dry a little bit. Flat spots.
I varnish them when they're all done. They get a dull finish.
Yeah, they get no
It
one
gets
spot.
very dull. If you don't use any medium and you use a lot of Gamsol, you know, then it will get really dull when it dries. So I either use a spray varnish or sometimes Gamsol varnish after it's totally dry, which is, it doesn't take all that long. It's thin. It doesn't take all that long.
And then we're gonna do art critique.
Oh, okay.
Have a couple minutes and we'll pass out the prizes for what people voted on.
Oh, okay, okay. What do you want me to do? You want me to just like talk?
Well, usually what they do is ask who did it and
Okay.
then, you know, tell them about it and then basically you say.
Okay.
Yes. I know.
I know how to encourage.
All right, so we're gonna give out the prizes. You know, who won.